Hey. Oh my god, that is in my face.
Hola.
We're gonna sit down and do it.
Okay, I'm here with the one and only Shashank Nigam. I've known him for a good amount of
Decade?
time. Yeah, but I've only met him in person after a couple of years when he came to Qatar during my time when I was at Qatar Airways. He's been running Simpliflying, which has been an aviation consultant working with how many airlines?
Over 130.
We had that many airlines in the world,
That's right.
but you didn't fly all of them yet, have you?
I have flown just over 110 airlines.
And how many of them have you visited a head office?
65.
Have you flown all those airlines you've worked with, every aircraft type?
No, I have only flown every aircraft type of two airlines. One is Singapore Airlines because they have very few aircraft types. That is easy.
Like Emirates?
The other is Qatar Airways because when I used to work with Qatar Airways, you had a chance to fly for work. And when I flew, I made sure I flew a different aircraft type. So I've flown everything from the A320 to the 321 to the 777 to the A380 to the A330 to the A340 when they had
The
them.
dinosaur.
Yeah, I used to love that plane and flying it.
It was a gas guzzler with 4 engines. I mean, come on, you really.
In this new times where we are talking about sustainability, yes, it would be criminal.
I mean, I
to
look
be
at that.
flying it.
I was like 5 years, and I was like, why are we flying this gas guzzler? It has an old
Used to give you non-stop flights. I've flown them on Singapore Airlines from Singapore to Newark, which was the first time. It was in a 350, a 340-500.
Yeah.
345 we used to call them, and they were a pleasure to fly with. I really enjoyed them non-stop.
Okay, Shashank, I know you've taken a big focus on sustainability in the past. I mean, like
3 years.
3 years, because right now I think everyone's realizing, okay, we're burning a lot of fuel, flying in these pressurized fuselages, taking us on long journeys, making the world shorter for us to get from one point to another. But at the same time, it's like, okay, what have you seen in the past couple of years when it comes to airlines trying to address sustainability?
I think it is definitely a growing concern, and we have seen sustainability move from just a checkbox, CSRD they used to call it, reporting,
Yes.
to sustainability under a random department like HR or government affairs, to airlines getting their own chief sustainability officers. Airlines having as large as 42% sustainability teams, which I know today exists. And they're working on everything from sustainable aviation fuel acquisitions to working with developers of future aircraft, electric aircraft, blending wind planes, hybrid hydrogen aircraft, to working on airport infrastructure. So it gives me a lot of hope because one, there are a lot of players involved here in the ecosystem. It's not just Boeing or Airbus. There are manufacturers like Heart Aerospace or Jet Zero, which are very exciting. Zero Avia in hydrogen space. There are airports which are raising their hands to figure out, hey, how can we do things differently? From Singapore Changi and their SAF levy, which will impact all airlines, but fund SAF directly in Singapore and production in Singapore, to London Heathrow, which is infamous for its landing fee, but
And a very busy, congested one. You missed the landing, you missed the takeoff slot. It's like, oh, goodness.
that's it. Good luck to you, right? But London Heathrow is going to cordon off certain part of the landing fee towards a SAF fund, which will help subsidize the cost of sustainable aviation fuel at the airport for all airlines. So I think sustainability within aviation has moved a lot. It is very nice to see airlines, airports, the entire ecosystem collaborating together. It's not something they are competing on. And that's very different from the other work we've done, which is on customer service strategy, or customer experience, or digital strategy, which is all about competing and getting ahead of the other airline.
So, in the past 3 years, I mean, I know it's like you said, a checkbox, and everyone is like, okay, we need to be serious about it. But fuel is a big cost for airlines, and airlines tend to hedge their fuels as such. But the challenge with SAF also has been the cost of producing it. So, I mean, I think it'll take, I mean, I don't know how soon, but if we have to get more airlines to adopt it, what do you see the roadmap like?
Yeah, I don't think it is feasible economically for the cost of SAF to be 3x to 11x that of jet fuel. I mean, think about it, right? If an airline's costs are 30% of their total cost, if you have to pay 3 times that for the fuel, how do you survive? You're out of business, right? If your fuel cost is 90% or higher. Forget about eSAF at 10x the cost. So we have to think creatively, and I do not believe that this is a technological barrier we have to cross. I believe this is a financial modeling barrier we have to cross. Either SAF has to produce in such great quantities that the costs come down, but I think there is a way this can be done. Currently, we're only imagining airlines will buy fuel and pay for it.
Yeah.
But no, there are other players. For example, Microsoft has signed a deal with Alaska Airlines and 12, which is an eSAF provider. And imagine 12's price premium is this much. Microsoft says, you know what, I'll pay this much of it. Because that's scope 3 in sustainability speak. And Alaska Airlines just has to pay this much. And that's interesting because that reduces the green premium for Alaska Airlines from this to just this. Microsoft knows it has to address its scope 3 emissions, a lot of which come through flying, right? Hence, it is a company that is committed to completely zero emissions, including its past operations. Travel is a big one, and they've done this. And I thought that's a very creative one-off deal, but it's not one-off. We've seen similar deals with Infinium, again, an eSAF provider, Citibank, which has a lot of scope 3 emissions, and American Airlines. I truly believe that financial innovation is going to help make SAF accessible to airlines and customers, and not necessarily technological innovation. On this, one of the favorite examples I know is Coldplay, the music band.
Oh yes.
They do net zero concerts, and they worked to ensure that all of their flights are using SAF. There may not be enough SAF on the flight itself, on the physical plane, but they use book and claim, a mechanism that allows them to, let's say, pump SAF in Los Angeles through a company called World Energy, and that will ensure that their flight from London to New York is fully flown on SAF that was pumped into LAX terminal, for example. So financial model innovation is happening, and that's what gives me a lot of hope, where non-airline entities are coming into the ecosystem, ensuring that SAF becomes accessible to everyone, because I believe green premium is actually gilt premium, and I don't think that's going to last very long.
Do you think the way I look at it is that, you know how airlines in the fares have the fuel surcharge? I have a feeling that's basically gonna, I know some either removed it or some have kept it the same or they lowered it, I think it'll either come back for those airlines or they will raise it.
Yeah, and that's a feasible thing, right? We've seen airlines like Lufthansa introduce a SAF surcharge, just like a fuel surcharge. I think it's up to 70 euros for some of the flights. But I wish that that is applied equally across airlines to level the playing field, but that's a very hard thing to do.
Maybe across alliances?
Perhaps, but guess what? If you look at Star Alliance, Lufthansa is in Star, so is Turkish.
Yeah.
Turkish will never, ever impose that based on sustainable aviation fuel, because the EU regulations do not apply to Turkish Airlines unless it's flights to the EU.
Oh yeah, that's I mean.
So I don't think it is in the interest of airlines to keep pushing the prices up. That's where I think creatively they have to work with partners to ensure that that is done.
Where do you see the next 5 years when it comes to SAF?
I think we are going to see significant increase in production of SAF, because there are plants that will need to be built to meet mandates in the UK, in Europe. So we will see more SAF usage and adoption in Europe than, let's say, America, given its current policies, or even Asia Pacific, where there isn't enough capacity. So I see Europe taking the lead.
Well, now I want to move to something a little bit to your normal aviation stuff. So Riyadh Air is now looking to come in and disrupt the usual Middle East three actually. I'll say Middle East duo because Etihad I think is just now the back burner. I know Riyadh has announced. I think they not announced, but I think it's been delayed by another quarter because of delivery in aircraft, which is always a first world it's always a problem for any airline, delay in aircraft as such.
Well, Riyadh Air is actually quite smart. They recently took over the delivery slots from AirAsia for narrow bodies. So they will actually get their deliveries way sooner for their narrow body Airbus aircraft than they were going to. So they are quite smart in doing this.
How do you see them, when they started operations? Because I know you've dealt with so many airlines, and now this is a whole different ball game. I mean, they have Saudia as well, so that's how do you see that dynamic play out, especially with Saudia still in the playing field?
Absolutely. I think let's make sure that audience who may not be in the Middle East know that Saudi Arabia has a domestic market.
Yeah.
Qatar doesn't. Bahrain doesn't.
No.
UAE doesn't.
Nope.
At least not till eVTOLs are launched.
Oh,
right? So hence Qatar, Emirates, Etihad, Gulf Air always operated on the 6th Freedom and 5th Freedom models, which both Saudi and Riyadh Air need not follow. Saudi Arabia has a big domestic market. Saudi Arabia has very ambitious tourism expansion plans. 100 million visits is what they're looking at. Just so you know, that's the same number of tourists as Italy. Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah.
They are of course developing a lot of tourist side as well. So, and I think they're hosting everything from the Expo to the Soccer World Cup in the next decade. So we have to look at it as a long-term play. Yes, Riyadh Air is absorbing a lot of aircraft. Now, if I'm creating a new airline in this decade, I want to be digital first, I want to be AI first, I want to rethink customer experience. I like the moves Riyadh Air has made till now in terms of the brand, especially given the challenge that they don't have a real aircraft where people can experience it.
Oh yeah.
They've got a sonic brand going. They've released a beautiful, classy uniform where, I would think it's someone
fashion show runway and
yeah, exactly. And Anton and his team have done a really good job with the brand execution, given they don't have real aircraft flying, right? With that constraint, imagine when we were at Qatar Airways, you have an A380, people can book the A380 and check out the bar. You have a brand new A350, all right, let's check out the Q Suite, right? You can go experience it. It's not just a video. Riyadh Air, given this constraint for the next few months or a year, they do not have any aircraft flying. How do you give an essence to the brand? I think they've done a fabulous job with the livery, the 2 liveries that they've got, the uniform, the sonic branding, and other aspects. Now, of course, the key challenge will be when the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
When the planes start flying, hey, is there a lot of O&D demand to Riyadh? How will they incentivize all the Saudis to start flying Riyadh Air as opposed to Saudia, which right now, by the way, has a very strong frequent flyer program, is a member of SkyTeam Alliance, has a fantastic lounge
and
in
they signed
Jeddah.
a bigger partnership with Delta.
Yes, that's right. So Saudia is going strong, I would say very strong on its own, especially in the last 5 years. And now you've got Riyadh Air as an entrant. I don't think there's a huge threat to Saudia's business. I think Riyadh Air is going to be taking traffic away from the likes of Turkish and Emirates and Qatar, and the entire Gulf region is going to have a readjustment happening because Riyadh Air will have brand new planes, really good service, and let's not forget, Riyadh Air is the most well-funded airline startup in the industry's history.
For people's clarity, Riyadh Air is funded by Saudi Arabia's Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is the public investment fund. If you want to know who handles it, I'll give you the hint. MBS.
So it is the world's best funded airline startup. So, go for it. Go big or go home.
I mean, it's exactly that's how it is in the Middle East. You either go big or you go home. I mean, look, I know it'll be a couple of years because it's all part of their whole national vision, and it's like it goes back to this conversation that they've had. It's like the travel hubs have moved from the west towards the east.
Yep.
I mean, the geography of the Middle East. I mean, for people to know, I used to live in the Gulf region, so I've seen it all, and it positions them nicely to capture 60% of the potential traveling traffic. But also at the same time, look, I mean, people want to travel. It's also, and it goes back to Riyadh Air, like they're running on an O&D model, not the hub model.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing because
exactly. There's a domestic market. You'll have flights from Riyadh to Jeddah to Dammam to Al Ula to the Red Sea. I mean, there's so much happening in Saudi Arabia. Neom, that's right.
I don't know when that city is going to get built, but we'll see. I bet they'll scale it down.
Yeah, but the airports I mentioned, Red Sea Airport is live and kicking, right? You have got Al Ula Airport. You've got not just the traditional hubs of Jeddah, Dammam, and Riyadh. You've got a lot of growth within Saudi Arabia, and also growth from Saudi cities to Cairo, to Alexandria, to Sharm el Sheikh.
Oh, yes.
Egypt is a huge market, for example, right? So you have to think about all of these city pairs, and suddenly it's a different ball game altogether.
I mean, I'm just trying to think, like, look, is travel just going to get with all of this, with so many more options? You would think, okay, the fare should become more competitive.
It will. It will. I think fares will remain the same or be cheaper, at least in that region, because in MENA, there is no SAF mandate. There are no incentives like in the US, IRA. There is LCAF, low carbon aviation fuel, which Aramco can produce as a byproduct without the huge cost of setting up a SAF plant. I don't think airfares within or to and from the Middle East are going to dramatically rise.
I mean, but they all want to capture all the potential markets, Europe, US, Canada, even parts of Asia, Australia, and all. I want to tap into something a little bit more. I don't know if you've been seeing the news, but QR now.
I don't watch the news, but airline stuff I know.
Airline stuff, okay. So airline news. So literally, I'm sure you've seen that. For a couple of years, they were trying to expand more into Australia, but Turkish got more, but Qatar didn't. But now, recently, through a joint investment, whatever they call it, partnership, Virgin Australia is going to take some international. Just as how everyone sees, do you think this is a way legally how airlines could potentially, okay, if they can't get more direct flying rights, an investment partnership way with another local partner is a good segue to help bridge it?
I have to give credit where it's due. Kudos to Qatar Airways and the government team to be able to do this and the investment team to be able to do this, because they were constrained, they were slot constrained, they could not expand to Australia, which is indeed a profitable market, definitely a growing one. So how do you do that?
And Australia even has its own domestic issues. I've seen people complaining about airfares, especially with Qantas, and they breathe down their necks as well. So literally, this is going to be a happy smile for the Australians as well. So that's why you did touch upon a nice point. But where do you see that? But do you see more? But because Qantas is also looking to do direct flights to London, Project Sunrise, which they've been testing.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen their travel trend. They all want to go to Europe and all. But will people want to be, in your opinion, on a flight more than 18 hours direct?
Well, people already do that. There's Doha and Dubai to Auckland.
Well, that's 16 and a half, 17 hours.
Right. I've flown the Singapore Airlines flight from Singapore to Newark.
Oh yeah, that's the longest flight.
That was really long. There are flights from San Francisco to New Delhi, which tend to be very long in one direction. In one direction.
But I heard they do a circular route, so they go.
Yes, exactly.
They go east for it, and then they come back west.
Correct.
Because they use the winds to help them.
In their favor, right? And I've seen the Project Sunrise work that Qantas has been doing with the 787s. I've seen the product on the Perth to London flight. I think it's very impressive. They have a very large premium economy cabin. They have done things above and beyond for passenger comfort. So if people are looking for that point, I think that becomes very interesting, just Perth to London. But don't forget, Qantas has announced that they are going to establish Perth as their secondary hub.
Yes.
And they will be moving a ton of long-haul flights to Perth, which is much easier to go to Europe. And you're going to have Perth-Athens, for example, or Perth to Paris, Perth to Amsterdam. I'm just thinking of different areas. But this is not all demand between Perth and these cities. You can connect from Sydney to Perth. So you're still taking one stop. You don't have to go Sydney non-stop to London only. That's one flight, maybe two. You can still go via Perth for a lot of those. And Qantas has now created an option within itself to compete with the likes of Singapore Airlines, to Thai Airways, to Malaysia Airlines, to, of course, the Gulf carriers as well.
You mentioned something about premium economy, and Emirates decided to introduce premium economy as well. I know European airlines will have that, but do you think there's even scope or a market, especially for other airlines to just now embrace premium economy?
You know, there's this saying in Hindi, right? Der aaye durust aaye. Right? Better late than never.
Yes.
Right? If you look at the amount of profits airlines are making these days, from Virgin Atlantic to Emirates to Turkish on their premium economy products, it's quite amazing. So you're leaving money on that table, especially if we hit other, swings and curves in travel spend. Maybe business travel will scale back, and those guys are going to pay more for the premium economy rather than downgrading all the way to economy. So I think it creates options within the cabin, and it's good to test out. A really good example that comes in my mind is a few years ago, JetBlue launched Mint.
Yes.
And they had so many different configurations. It was beautiful. I think they had 5 different classes to choose from on a narrow body. I don't think anyone had done that. Of course, Lufthansa tried to do that in Allegris. It's gone a bit too far. It's confusing. Wow, what product do I choose and I have to pay for each of those? But I thought JetBlue did it in a very elegant manner.
Yeah, I mean, you just gave me a question. You just touched on something very interesting when it comes to. So there's a saying. Yeah, now I went. So there's this saying I've learned over time is that economy covers the operational costs. Business is where you make your profit. So where would premium economy fit in?
Cream on top. The guys who are taking their flight for the honeymoon, they'll upgrade to premium economy, but not business perhaps. The guys who are going on an annual family trip, they might actually book premium economy. People would redeem miles and pay twice as much as economy on the premium economy, as opposed to 4x as much for business.
That's true. Because people are price conscious as well. Some of them want to splurge. They're like, I save the money, I'm going to go on a thing. When it comes to that now, I know you've seen the news that before QR said they will get rid of first class, and then they're bringing it back.
See, that's the demand dynamics, right? If there's demand in the market, then you will keep it. Same with premium economy.
I think I'll end with one last question, hopefully, is travel has changed so much after COVID. At the same time, even when people want to travel, depending on what your nationality and you have visas and all, it depends on where you can go. Where do you see, or how do you see at least travel shifting or evolving in the coming, we're in 2025, so let's say by 2030?
Next 5 years, I think there are a few big shifts happening. One, sustainability will play a major role in both airline operations, operational efficiency, as well as future plans. I don't think airlines will be coming up with very hard deadlines and targets like 2015 net zero and things like that. But they will eventually try to push the goalpost. So that's what happens. When you set a hard target, it's all about, someone's going to call you out and push the goalpost. But what if we just keep doing things and keep sharing our progress? Then you're talking about what's being done today, not an intention to do something in the future. And I think that's important. The other thing is, if we move away from sustainability, I think AI and artificial intelligence, whatever is happening there, is going to start coming into airlines. And I know we saw the conversational Sama flight attendant with Qatar Airways. I think that's really interesting. I don't think that's going to become mainstream. You won't see 100 airlines launching a conversational AI booking system. I think that's niche. What you will see 100 airlines potentially do in 5 years from now is, hey, my flight was delayed or my flight got cancelled, I need a refund. Today, if you seek a refund, that probably goes to 3 different systems: this DCS, the reservation system, you have to check what the EU regulations are for compensation. If you're a frequent flyer, are you gold or platinum or not? And probably 5 agents take 2 weeks to do this. The processes are well defined, the systems exist, the connectors between them exist. You can just have an AI agent swarm doing this, and takes about 5 minutes to issue the refund. So simple.
Or a voucher.
Or a voucher, yeah, exactly, right? So you're given 2 offers and you pick an offer, just offer and book, right? And I think AI is going to help make airline travel better for most people, because little inconveniences like there's a flight delay. Oh, right away a voucher comes to your phone using AI. Or, hey, you know what? I need to change my flight. Here are your options, sir. And I know some airlines are doing this well. Simple things like notifications.
Yeah.
airline passengers just want to be informed. So can there be a series of
You
trigger-based
basically
notifications?
tackle the problem before it worsens.
Thank you. I can go to Flight Radar right now and check where my incoming flight is. The airline knows that too in OCCs. We built the digital IOCC back in the day, and why doesn't the passenger know? The passenger can know, right? So all of these programs will come in through AI and make air travel better for a large majority of the passengers, and also bring down costs for airlines.
Oh, let's hope it does bring down costs. Because people want to go on holidays. The last thing you don't want them is to save up and suddenly see the currency value. Because after all, it depends. Paying in dollars, euros, pounds, Indian
something
rupees.
else.
I mean, exactly. It's going to be like that. Shashank, my good friend, thank you for this.
Thank
I
you.
know.
So good to see you after so many years.
Exactly.
And here in South by Southwest in Austin.
Exactly. South by Southwest. I've come back to this event thanks to him after 11 years, because I came here first time in 2014, which was March of 2014. Before, well, that's a very, very back time, but it was worth it. And I came for his session as well. So
I hope you enjoyed it.
No, I enjoyed it. I mean, I still have the airline thing in a way. It's like if I hadn't left me, it's subconsciously and subliminally.
Once you've got jet fuel in your veins, sorry. Once you've got SAF in your veins, it's hard to get out.
Yeah, hope he doesn't poison me and everything. It's like I've got virtual. I was like, I eat, drink, sleep. And I was like, planes. And I was like, okay, what's the issue? Landing here, AOG. Well,
yeah, I know who you're talking about. It's us.
It's us, exactly.
So glad we could do this.
Well, hopefully you've all learned anything more about it. Please note that he is a top voice on LinkedIn, so do follow him if you really want to learn more on the push of sustainability in travel, so that you don't feel guilty that I'm polluting the air and everything with my children and breathe and all that. At least if you know that as more airlines start embracing it, yes, it's going to hurt their pockets a bit, but it's worth it. Suffer now to enjoy later.
That's a nice way to put it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I put out, thanks for mentioning LinkedIn, I put out one post per day on LinkedIn on the future of aviation. So feel free to follow.
Future of aviation, sustainability, sustainable way to travel.
Thank you, Yasser.
Thank you.